Hi, my name is Todd Bigelow. Thanks for stopping in. This is just a short informal video series on business topics for freelance photographers. I've been a freelancer for 30 years. I'm a contributing photographer to Contact Press Images. I'm an adjunct professor of photography and photojournalism, the founder of the Business of Photography Workshop, and most recently, the author of the Freelance Photographer's Guide to Success Business Essentials. Thanks for stopping in, and I hope you enjoy the series. I want to talk a little bit today, come back to licensing, and I want to draw this into some very recent requests, including yesterday and again this morning. I want to draw on a couple of factors that I think are really important for you to keep aware of when you're dealing with requests for your work. Okay, we might have touched a little bit on some of these in previous segments, but I want to draw them back and show how really controlling your work is important. You always want to, be of help to your client, but you definitely want to be the one that controls the narrative, so to speak. Okay, and we always do these things in a professional and friendly way, but I want to point out a couple of things that hopefully will help you license your work and control how it's used. Okay, so 2 recent licenses from just the last 48 hours. First and foremost, okay, so first thing I want you to keep in mind is the work has to be done in advance for others to find your work online and to be ready so that when a request does come in, you're ready to, go ahead and create the license and send the images out and go ahead and just, seal the deal, right? So you have to do the work up to that point. So the image has to be in an online archive, available to be found through Google Images or a Google search, or people coming directly to your site, or in any way trying to find your work. Those images need to be up and ready on your archive to be licensed. That's if you don't have that done yet and you're not familiar with how to license yet, you have to do that part in advance. Okay, so don't try to learn how to license at the time that a request comes in. That's not really the time to learn it. Do a little bit of studying and watch some videos, read some books, whatever the case might be. Get some information about how to license. Okay, and you can go back and look at the previous licensing video that I did specifically on rights managed licensing. So number one really is just control the image on your archive. Okay. On my archive, certain images are available directly through the archive, so you go ahead and add an image to the cart and drop down or go through some drop down menus to select the type of license. It kicks out a fee. If they agree to it, then they can go ahead through the checkout process, which is connected to PayPal, and an image license can be written, and the link to download the images is sent directly to them. Most of the work that I am concerned about, or that I really care about, that has social issue implications and so forth, things like my immigration work, social justice work, any amount of work that I've done with documenting hate groups and so forth like that. I want to control how and where those images are used, so they're fully searchable on my archive, but they're not directly licensable through the archive. So people have to reach out to me, and I make that clear on the gallery. And oftentimes I just get an email in my inbox, as I did yesterday, that is inquiry from, and it's basically somebody that filled out the web contact form indicating their interest in a particular image, and then the process begins. So again, first step, control the image on your archive. Make sure that it's not downloadable. Make sure that it's searchable through the search engines. And you'll have to learn how to do that if you don't know how to do that already. But there's plenty of tutorials out there, depending upon which website platform you're using. Second thing is release the access only after the terms and the fee have been agreed upon and paid. Okay, so the only time I don't require payment in advance of allowing the image to be released or releasing the image to the client is if it's somebody that I've worked with a bunch. If it's a regular client, they're coming back to me saying, listen, remember those images from 2 years ago? We're going to reuse one. What's the fee? Then I'll quote them a fee and they say, hey, that's great. In all likelihood, they might already have the image because I shot it on assignment. If not, and they require it, I'll go ahead and release it to them because this is a regular client. I want things to be seamless. I want them to be happy. I'm not looking for, to nickel and dime them to death with all the little terms and how we go about it. However, if it's, which is usually the case, people that are just, looking to use the image, book publishers, textbook, that was a request yesterday, then I'm going to only release that image once we've agreed upon the terms and the payment has been made. And once that payment is made, then I just can go ahead and send the image to them with a link to the gallery where the image resides, and I can control the download option. So all my images on my archive are view only when they're in galleries, but once somebody's agreed to the terms and I've licensed the image, then it becomes a option for me to select download, and then they can download that particular image. And I can control, like, they can download it once and then the download option completely shuts off. Okay. 3, be specific with the terms. This is where the request yesterday, specifically regarding an image for the University of Oklahoma, for a book being published by the University of Oklahoma, comes into play. So 2 years ago, I wrote a license for the use of the image to the author who was writing a book, and it was being published by the University of Oklahoma. She specifically asked for specific rights to the image, and I wrote them very specific to what she requested. She was only asking for print options. Okay, so the image was only going to be used in the printed edition. So that's what I wrote the license for. 2 years later, the actual book is finally going to be published, and it turns out the publisher wants additional rights, which is not unsurprising and not surprising at all. Totally unsurprising. They want ebook rights. They want rights to use the image in a teacher's edition and so forth and so on. So I provided the additional rights, and she had to come back and pay additional fees. So I basically revised the license, credited her for the amount that she had already licensed, and then she owed an additional amount for the additional use. So as I've said many times before in my workshops, in my book, and so forth, I look at licensing, rights managed licensing, as like ordering food when you go anywhere. Okay, if you go to Chipotle and you want to get a burrito, you're going to ask for guacamole. They're going to charge you for the guacamole. You want double meat because you're hungry, they're going to charge you double meat. Okay, it's an itemized invoice. Tell me what you want, I'll itemize it for you. And if you come back and you need additional use, no problem. I'm going to work with you. I'll give you a good fee. But those are additional uses for which I have to grant those additional rights. And it comes with an additional fee. So again, yesterday's invoice or inquiry came on the heels of an invoice that I had written 2 years ago because they were going to need additional rights. So I went back in, revised that license, added the new fees, and provided that to the client, of which she agreed readily. And just this morning, she said, go ahead and send over a PayPal invoice. Okay, so because I controlled the rights and how those images were originally licensed, and I was not vague with the terms, which is often the case when you get an inquiry, they will say we need quote unquote all use, or we need rights to use the image in all manners or in perpetuity. You want to avoid that. You want to say, how is it you're going to use the images? Write the license for that use. And then if they go beyond that use or they want to use it in another way later, as is the case in this example, then they have to request that use and there will be additional fees to be paid by them. Okay, so control the terms, and you set the fee. Okay, so a license request I had this morning was something that had kind of been in the works, and the request finally came through. Somebody had asked for a gallery of images a couple of months ago as they were considering the images for a quarterly publication. The request came through this morning that they were going to use this image, and the specific email said, we pay $120, for a 3/4 page use of the image. With all due respect and, to be polite and everything, I don't allow others to tell me exactly what my image is worth. Okay, that's like me walking into a restaurant and telling them what I'm going to pay. I quote fairly, I quote along industry standards, but it's up to me if you come to ask me for the use of my images to set the fee and the terms. So I responded politely this morning. I'd be happy to send along a quote for the use of the image. Please describe how you plan to use the image in the print publication only, online, downloadable. Are there any other affiliates or assignees or partners? Very relevant questions which will determine the fee. If it's a print-only publication for a quarterly publication, then I'm going to go ahead and launch PhotoQuote. I'm going to take a look at the range of images or the range of fee. I usually default somewhere in the middle. Again, I try to be fair and I want to get the license. But I'm not going to just go ahead and say, listen, okay, I'll take the $120, which I know is very subpar, very, very low. Okay, so again, you set the fee. Okay, so you need to have that software, you need to have that experience, you need to understand what is in play so that you can respond professionally and reasonably with a quote, which is exactly what I do. Okay, and again, along that lines, last point is you supply the contract. So when somebody wants to use my images and they say, as this email did this morning, we'll pay this fee and we'll send along our agreement, that's not generally how it works. If you want to license an image from me, I'm going to supply you a licensing agreement. If they don't want to agree to that license or they have something that they'd like to negotiate, then they're welcome to do that and let me know, and we'll see if we can work it out. But I'm not going to agree to their contract. I'm not going to start with their contract. You're asking for my images, of which I control and own the copyright. I will supply you a standard licensing agreement that is completely standard for the profession. And they can look at that. If they have any, issues with it, let me know. But I set the fee and I supply the contract terms. Okay, that's how generally licensing is when you're dealing with an agency or any individual archive like mine. So if I go to Getty, I'm a consumer, and I go to Getty, I don't send Getty my contract. If I go to Contact Press Images, to which I'm a contributing photographer, if I'm a consumer and I go to, Contact and say, hey, listen, I love this image that David Burnett shot, and we'd like to use this image, I'm going to send you my contract. That's not how it's going to work. The agency will decide, what the fee is, or will quote the fee and provide the licensing terms. Okay, so from the, gigantic mega agencies to the more kind of boutique agencies, they all work the same. If you go to them and ask for an image, they're going to supply you a quote and a contract, a licensing agreement. That's the same way I operate. You come to me, I'll supply you a quote with the licensing agreement. It doesn't work the other way where I'm going to get your agreement and agree to that. Okay, so there's the tips in basically not only licensing, but how to effectively control your image while, always being professional and respectful, but understanding that this is your business and others don't necessarily come in and tell you exactly what they're going to pay and what terms you're going to agree to. That's kind of not really how it works, okay? Hope that helps. Thanks for stopping back by. Please share these videos if you think they might help others. I don't do them. There's no ads or anything. I do them. I don't do them for any other reason except to try to help others, okay? Happy New Year again, and I look forward to a healthy and happy 2022 and hoping to help you with the information that I can share. Okay? We'll see you again soon.